Hey everybody, in this video we're going to take a look at how we solve for equilibrium in the supply and demand model. So fundamentally, equilibrium is really easy in this model. It simply is where supply equals demand. And in the book they do it a couple different ways. First of all, they do it using demand and supply schedules. So a demand schedule is just a list of prices and the corresponding equilibrium quantity demanded at all those different prices. And then, of course, a supply schedule is the same thing on the supply side. And basically, you just match up this demand schedule and the supply schedule and find the price at which the equilibrium quantity and the equilibrium demand equal one another. Of course, the other way we can do this, and that they do in the book, is we can do this graphically, right? So graphically, we simply have a supply curve and a demand curve. And where those two curves intersect is going to give us our equilibrium price and our equilibrium quantity. But what we actually want to focus on in this video is what we do if we actually have equations for quantity demanded and quantity supplied. So let's take a look at that. So let's imagine that for some reason, because we've taken a look at some data, we can actually estimate quantity demanded and quantity supplied using some sort of equation. So let's imagine that the quantity demanded of a good is equal to 100 minus 2 times price. And let's imagine that the quantity supplied of a good is equal to 10 plus price. Now we can quickly actually look at these and make sure that they satisfy the law of supply and the law of demand. And sure enough, as price rises, the quantity demanded falls. So that satisfies the law of demand. And as price rises, we're going to increase our quantity supplied. So that satisfies the law of supply as well. So these are two perfectly fine supply and demand curves. And what we're going to do to solve for equilibrium in this model is simply set those two curves equal to one another. So we're going to set quantity demanded equal to quantity supplied. So how does that look? Well, we're going to take 100 minus 2p. That's the quantity, that's the demand curve. And we're going to set that equal to 10 plus p. That's our supply curve. So now supply is equal to demand, and we're going to solve. How do we do that? Well, we're going to add 2p to this side, 2p to both sides. We're going to subtract 10 from both sides. That's going to give us 90 equals 3p. We're going to divide both sides by 3, which is going to give us p equals 30. So now we know equilibrium price in these two curves is going to be 30. So now we have to solve for the equilibrium quantity. So all we're going to need to do is we're going to take this price and we're going to plug it back into the supply and demand curves. So the question is, which one should we use? Should we use the demand curve or should we use the supply curve? Turns out it shouldn't matter, right? Since demand is equal to supply here, we should be able to plug 30 into either one of the curves and get the right answer. Let's start by putting it into our quantity demanded curve. So our quantity demanded is going to be equal to 100 minus 2 times 30, or 100 minus 60 equals 40. So our quantity demanded should equal 40, but we can check our answer here. We should get the same answer if we plug that price into quantity supplied. So quantity supplied equals 10 plus P is 10 plus 30 equals 40. So sure, we've now checked ourselves. So our equilibrium price in this model is equal to 30. Our equilibrium quantity in this model is equal to 40. And we're all set.